Hey guys, welcome back. So I know I've been gone for a while. I was on deployment, and life was pretty hard on the ship. So kind of disappeared and tried to take some time to regather myself. But anyways, we're gonna be mostly talking about ship life and what's been going on since then. Today's gonna be a bit of a rambling episode, but hopefully you enjoy it. Stay tuned. All right, guys. So like I said, welcome back. Um, I don't remember the last time I actually posted an episode out there. I think the last one was the Choose Your Rate, Choose Your Fate series, the MC, that's what it is. I'm pretty sure that was the last one. Anyways, though, so as you know, I was on deployment. I was on the no port cruise, and life was pretty hard. I really struggled a lot. I wasn't able to keep in touch as well with family. Um, you know, we got some new people in the chain of command, and that kind of caused a rift with how things were running at work. And I went from being looked at fondly to someone who was not the go-to guy anymore, and that was really hard for me. So on top of all that, you have the being on deployment, lack of communication with family. You have email contact, but not really too many phone calls. They were kind of far and few between. Um, we had some beer days and we had some things like that, but at the end of the day, I was stuck on the ship for 200 and something days, and it really just took a toll physically and mentally. Um, you know, One of the big issues that I was having is that you're supposed to have holiday routine on Sundays. So whether that's come in late or you work half day or what have you. In my case, my holiday routine up until the last uh, I don't know, month, maybe less, on the ship. My holiday routine was you get to come in an hour late or leave an hour early. So I really didn't get holiday routine for the longest time. And so that was making life super hard. I was tired all the time. In our berthing, it was directly below the the jets. So whether they were taking off or landing or whatever they were doing on the flight deck, they they were just loud all the time, and so that was really a struggle to deal with. Combination with all of these things, it really just kind of wore me down, made life hard, and I, I don't even really know how to explain it. It just wears you out. So we had days where what do they call it? Port at sea or something like that. And so that was kind of nice. We still had to come in and work, but we had time off. Well, there was a swim call. Sorry, swim call. Um, People got to jump off the ship and do stuff like that. I wasn't really into that. I'm not really a water guy, but it was nice. It was a good break. Get to go sit on the mess decks. Um, a lot of spades, different things like that. Um, I did get involved with a few different things, like I said, playing spades. Um, I tried to record the podcast every now and then. As you can tell, that didn't really go very far, but I was able to get one, which was nice. I'm still trying to find some people and actually do these Choose Your Rate, Choose Your Fate series. Um, but yeah, so deployment continues. I really began to struggle mentally, and it got worse and worse. And I think part of that was that I'm trapped inside this big ass metal box, and with being in there, I didn't get enough sun, and that's partially on me because I could have went to the hangar bay, and in the hangar bay, the doors are open and the sun comes in, so I could have got more of that, and I think that would have helped, but I don't think that that's the end all be all. I think that's just another thing that I could have done that would have helped. Um, then, I had this tension with my wife back home, and, you know, that coupled with the email communication on board was very spotty. So, like, I might send an email, she might not get it for a day, 2 days, a few hours, whatever. And then she would send me an email back, and it would be the same thing. And so that communication kind of made that piece hard, um, because you never knew. We eventually started numbering our emails so we could tell, hey, this one came in at this time. This is I'm replying to this, or whatever. Um, and then you have things where like MCON, which is emissions control. So basically, they shut down any kind of outside communication. So if you're trying to send an email outside of the ship, it, it doesn't go. So that could be 12, 24, 48 hours, whatever. And during that time, there's nothing you can do. So that was also kind of hard and stressful. Not so much for me on that point, but for the family and anybody that you're trying to communicate with outside of the ship, that can come on all of a sudden. And so there's no warning. You can't be like, hey, we're going into MCON on this date and this time, so I'll probably be out of touch for however long. It just kind of happened, and so you have to deal with that. Mail was pretty good. I got my I'm brain farting on what it's called. The Podcaster Pro, the Rodecaster. I can't remember, but it's the board that Rode came out with, and that's how I was able to record my podcast on board. That came in. I was getting boxes of all kinds of random stuff. Uh, I decked out my rack, so I put up curtains. I had a top bunk, so I put up curtains that went from the top of my rack to the ceiling. I used magnets to attach it to the bulkhead. So I was completely blocked in. And then there was a plug next to my rack. So I got a mini air conditioner, and I was able to use that in my rack, which helped keep it super cool. And then I had a USB fan that you can get off Amazon, and it was one of the ones that had two heads on it, and you could control the speed. And so, yeah, like, you could feel the cold air coming out of my rack, and I had LED strip lights set up, and people would come by and be like, "Damn, what is this, MTV Cribs?" So that was nice. It was kind of like having my own little space, like my I don't want to say an apartment, but like that was my space, and I was able to kind of do with it what I want. Not everybody had that luxury. Um, some of that stuff that I had put up, it wasn't supposed to be up, but I did it, and it didn't really cause any problems, so it was nice. Um, after Once we started coming home, we had to start wearing the mask again, and that was kind of annoying, but it was just trying to, I guess, get us in the routine of wearing the mask whenever we pull it in, and that wasn't too big of a deal. But man, when you're out and it's hotter than shit on the ship, like that mask, whew, sweating, struggling to breathe, you're just sucking in nasty air. And speaking of nasty, man, let me tell you, the ships are so gross. I had a buddy who he hit his head. What did he hit it on? Was it a fire extinguisher or a pipe? I don't remember. But anyways, he hit his head, and he didn't think no big deal. He had like a small, tiny cut there. Didn't think anything of it. 2 days later, his face was so swollen he couldn't see, and They pulled him into medical, and they didn't have a surgeon on board to do anything. Well, let me roll back there. So they tried to give him antibiotics, and that didn't do enough for him. So they had to go in, cut it open where he had hit his head, drain it out, and then dig out part of his skull because he had some type of like flesh eating bacteria, whatever, and it was messing him up. So that was definitely interesting. Um, I I struggled pretty badly with chain of command issues. Um, because when you get to that point where you're just mentally and physically exhausted, your performance starts to go down. Not to mention the person that I was working for. I mean, he just shit all over me, and it really made me shut down. Um, and then I had a conversation with my wife, and he found out that she had cheated on me. And once that happened, and I found that out, I really went down a dark path and struggled so much. Um, and I think it was pretty obvious to a lot of people. And people try to check on me, say, "Hey, how you doing?" Things like that. But I mean, outside of getting off the ship, going home, like there was just nothing I could really do about it to get myself out of that funk. And I struggled so much, and I lost myself as a person, as a sailor. I started doing things that I'd never done. I mean, straight up insubordination, jumping the chain of command, just being an asshole. I still did my job, and I feel like I did it well. There was a few times where that leadership that I was talking about, they flat out told me, "You're just a second class. You don't make decisions." And so that took a hit at my pride and my ego. But like I think the biggest issue that I had that was I was tasked with a job and I was doing that job, and then you're going to come in and tell me that, like, you're the one that told me to do this. That made me kind of fall apart even more. And seeing all these things and seeing how I went from, I don't want to say being the golden boy, but being top of the heap, being um, one of the more prominent MAs on board, and then going to somebody that is looked at with contempt, I guess is a good word, really hurt. And it was really a struggle for me, especially because I've been in second class so long, and then I feel like I could do so much more. And then all of that kind of compiled down on me. And then the food on board is just horrendous. There was a few days that there were meals that I really look forward to. The meal system, it was, I mean, it was a system. And so you kind of had this rotation, and you knew that, well, on this day is going to be pizza day, on this day we're going to have chili mac, on this day we're going to have XYZ, so on and so forth. um, and so those days that you really look forward to that meal, I'm like, yes, something I can actually enjoy. um, but yeah, and so there was just all these things that piled down on top of me. And it got to the point where I was having very intrusive thoughts. And you know, I didn't want to hurt myself, but I had these thoughts, and that really started to get to me. And I went and talked to chaplain. I'm pretty jaded when it comes to mental health because of past experiences where they basically didn't listen to me and just said, "Oh yeah, 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 you've got operational stress. Yeah, we're gonna down you." And I'm like, "No, you're not listening to what I'm saying." So, anyways, I talked to Chaps, and he was trying to convince me go talk to mental health. and do all these things. And he worked with me a little bit, but not much. And he made his recommendations, but at the end of the day, that just wasn't enough for me. I really needed a break, and it was hard. I mean, it was a really hard time, and I ended up at the point where I was going to hurt myself, and I stopped. I went down, talked to my chief. I said, "Hey, I'm not in a good spot," and they downloaded me. They sent me over to mental health, and I explained to him. I said, "Listen, it was a lapse in judgment. I was in a rough spot. I stopped. I went and talked to my chain of command. I'm good. Please don't take my job, being able to arm up and do things. Don't take that away from me, because that's only going to make it worse. Because now you're pulling me, and now somebody's got to fill in that slack." And everybody was kind of on board. The same thing. They were like, "Yeah, no, we don't think so. You're good. You did the right thing. Clearly, we don't think you're going to continue down that path, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." They still downloaded me for a small time, but I went through the process. I think it was just more of an administrative thing to cover their ass, basically, so that if anything did happen, they can say, "Well, we did this," and it still happened. But came back up, no big deal, moved on. Um, and then it was just like from there on out, while on that ship until I transferred, I was I was the shithead, you know. Um, and that was one of the things I think that probably was up there in the top that really hurt me, was not being able to be the person in the sailor that I know I could be. Really, not much else to say about the ship. It was a rough place to be, and I don't I don't recommend it for anybody. It's so clicky, and like, I mean, there was some decent things, like, you get to know people, get to talk to people. The trick is, you have to find somebody in every department that you can really link up with. So like, I had people down at ship's laundry. So instead of going to the typical laundry room where all the sailors go, and you have a set time for each department, yada 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 yada. I had a guy in the laundry room in the ship's laundry, so I would go down there and I'd be like, "Hey, bro, maybe hook him up with like a monster, or just bullshit with him, or share some movies with him." And I would do my laundry there, and it was much quicker. There was nobody around. It was just better. And then making friends that worked in the galley or worked in the officers' galley, you could get like a fresh cooked burger, or maybe a quesadilla. Um, you know, I had a guy. I think he was an EM. Installed a plug in my rack, which was, man, let me tell you, that was a lifesaver. But so it's all about making these connections and finding people that you can work with, and have some type of mutual trade off, something that benefits you both. And that could be as simple as just like, "Hey, man, I'll buy you three monsters." And so that was one of my big trading tools, because I always had monsters. I would drink one every day, and then after that, water, Powerade, whatever. Um, yeah, finding the right people is a big help. Especially on days where the galley food is shit. Yeah. I would recommend stocking up on dip and things like that. Those are also good trading not devices, good trading items to have. Dip, cigarettes, things like that. Monsters, any kind of energy drink. You live off of energy drinks. Um, and then just being able to help people out whatever way you can. You help somebody out, more than likely they're going to help you out. Especially when it comes to things like getting your quals, things like that. I know at one point we had somebody that pissed off the DCs, so basically they're like, "Yep, nope, fuck security. We're not signing off any of their quals." And that became a big ordeal. We had to go in, apologize, do all these things. But I mean, it really is. It's like prison in high school. It's so clicky, and you got to make it in with the right crowd. And if you're not in with that crowd, you're not getting in. Um, but you got to find ways to occupy yourself and make yourself happy, and do different things to continue your time. Otherwise, you're just gonna go insane. There are phones on board that I never really used up until the last of deployment, but you can get phone cards, and you can use those to call home. There's typically a long line for them, so you just got to find the right time that works for you, and make sure you go in and actually get some time to make those phone calls. They really help. But yeah, if you have any questions about ship life, my experience was a little bit different than most people's. But if you have questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them. Um, yeah. So, anyways, moving on from there, um, I left there, got to my new command. Um, my new command isn't much better. A little bit of it is on me. I mean, I'll admit that. But like, I got here, and it took me 6 months to get one of my quals because they just weren't giving me the time to get the qual. And then started calling people out on some bullshit, and that got me looked at as this person that just showed up, and I'm an asshole, and I'm going against the status quo, and I'm causing all these issues. So this place has been kind of hard for me as well, and so I'm, you know, coming off of that funk from the ship to here, and I came here, was like, yep, I'm gonna have a good attitude, I'm gonna have a good mentality, I'm gonna push forward, and then it just turned out not to be great for me. And I know this sounds like one big bitch fest, but it's my life, it's my podcast. If you want to tell your story, come on, I want to hear it. But so things are rough here, and still a little rough, but I'm trying to get my head in the game and get on the right path, and continue to move forward. But it's a struggle. It's a struggle to break out of that funk. We coming back, we we were dealing with COVID and all that shit, and so that became hard because I mean, you really can't. We couldn't go out and do things, and so all I have is go home, come to work, go home, come to work, which most of the time that's kind of inmate life anyways because of the shifts that we work. But when you absolutely just can't go anywhere, it just makes it that much harder. Um, but things started to calm down, kind of got back to normal. Then out comes the jabby jab. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not getting it. And if that means I've got to get forced out, then so be it. But I, it's not even that I'm opposed to it, right? I don't think that it's an issue that people get it. Most of my family has it, but I believe every day more and more that our liberties are being taken away from us, and I don't think that it should be forced on us. It should be a choice. And I know choices have consequences, and so if I don't get it and I get forced out, then that's the way it goes. You know. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a decision that I make. It's not going to be something that I'm being forced into. And I've had all the military inoculations, all the different jabs that we got to get, but those are those are established. They've been around, they've been studied, and they've had time. And um, also, I was younger and didn't really think about it. Yeah, I'm young and good, whatever, just jab me. But the older you get, the more you think about things, and the more you research things, and the more you actually look at life and think about the way things are going. And so that's just kind of what happened here. And I've really kind of grown up and realized there are things that I value more, and other things that I look at, like my liberties. Um, but that's not what we're here to talk about. This is a military podcast. Um, so you got all that going on. Mask mandates come back full blast. They're talking about kicking people out. They don't get the jab. They're delaying it until I don't know, whatever happens. Um, and so you see people that are standing strong, like, nope, I'm not going to get it. And then they slowly, one by one, fall off and go get it. Which, that's, if you make that decision, you make that decision. But then there's people that are putting in for religious accommodations. And so these religious accommodations are going up, but you're not really hearing anything back. And I actually put in for one, and we'll see what happens. But then, so you got all that going on, but the world is kind of going back to normal, kinda. We're having issues with some supply chain and things like that, but the military is kind of getting back to its normal pace. Um, you come in, you do your job, and you go home. There's not really any more teleworking or anything like that, which was weird for me because when I showed up to my new command, I talked to this. I believe she was a third class, and she's like, "Yeah, this is weird for me." She said because I checked in, and they're like, "All right, here's your laptop and stuff. Go home. You're gonna work from home." And she made rank from home. Like, how crazy is that? Like you come in the Navy and you never done one thing except telework, and you're like, "Yep, oh, boom, I made rank." Like, blows my mind. But we've gotten away from that. Some of the issues though that we're having, I think, with all of this stuff going on is there's a huge lack of military bearing. There's lack of respect for appearance and uniform, and then we haven't had a PRT in 2 years, and now we're in this PRT cycle and things are happening. Um, I don't really know who's passed or failed. I haven't taken mine yet, but I it's kind of crazy to me that now we're getting back into this. We're starting to do this PRT, and I know a lot of people aren't ready to go, and I'll be the first one to tell you I'm not ready. I mean, I really don't want to fail this, but it's going to be rough. It's definitely going to be rough to pass. I'm in probably the worst shape of my life, so I've got to do something about that. Um, but yeah, life's been hard. Life's been hard for all of us, and I guess kind of the main takeaway from this episode is reach out to your people, check on your people, see how they're doing, talk to them, converse. If you have the opportunity to get together, go do something. Even if they don't really want to, do your best to convince them to get out of the house, break out of their funk, stop laying in bed, take a shower, brush your teeth, all these things. Um, they need it. We need it. We need human interaction. And if you're senior leadership or if you're any kind of leadership at all, talk to your people, talk to them, figure out what's going on. Don't just jump straight to punishment. Sit down and talk. I mean, I get it. At the end of the day, we are the military, and there are what's the word? There are repercussions for actions, and we do have rules and regulations, things put in place. But sometimes people are just struggling, and if it's not a huge infraction, give them a chance, give them a benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're having a hard time. Maybe they haven't been able to go get a haircut on base because whatever, or they haven't been able to get their car to the shop, so it keeps breaking down. Um, Times are hard. Times are hard for everybody. Talk to your sailors. Talk to your soldiers. Talk to your Marines. Talk to your airmen. Figure out what's going on and then go from there. Because it may be a problem that you can solve. It may be something that you can help with. But if you jump straight to anger and discipline and these things, they're never going to want to come talk to you. They're never going to want to listen to you. Um, and that doesn't mean that you can't punish them still, because, like I said, actions have consequences. But talk to them, figure out what's going on, do your best to help them, and then explain to them, like, listen, I understand that, and I want to help you, but you know, you did this thing, so we have to resolve that. And I think most of us adults will understand, and we'll be like, okay, yeah, I get it, I fucked up, because whenever I mess up, I'm the first one to admit, yeah, hey, I messed up. This is why, but yeah, I mean that's not an excuse. It's just that's why, and so yeah, I'll take that repercussion. Um, but if you are in a funk, or if you're stuck at home, or you're whatever you're doing, find an outlet, find a way. There we have FaceTime and Skype and Zoom and all these crazy things now that you can get online. If you enjoy playing cards, you can play cards with your friend online. It'll be a little difficult, but you can do it. Um, there's all these live streams that you can get on and interact with people, and there's so many things out there that you can do. So don't let yourself fall down that hole. And if you are falling down that hole, reach out to somebody. Reach out to somebody to help, and do your best to get out of it. At the end of the day, you have to take care of you, because the Navy's going to replace you. You go down tomorrow, the Navy will get somebody else in that spot. And I know it's hard. I'm one of those people that I don't like to go down at work, because then somebody else has to pick up my slack. So I'm not really about that. But I've learned over the years that you have to take care of you. Nobody else is going to do it. The chain of command doesn't give a shit about you. And that's a shitty place to be, because I don't know what happened to our leaders that would take the time and work with us and figure out what's going on and try and work through and solve issues. Now it's all about the bottom line. That's not a good place to be. The higher ups, they preach about mental health. They preach about, doing all these things. But at the end of the day, those lower level leaders, they don't give a damn. It's really shitty, because those are the people that advance, not the ones that actually care and the ones that want to be there for their junior people. So, at the end of the day, I'm here. If you need anything at all, reach out. And if you want to be on the show, if you want to tell your story, if you have a sea story, or you have any kind of story, reach out. We can be anonymous, or you can say who you are and put your story out there to the public. It's all up to you. But I would love to have you on. I'd love to talk to you, and hear what you guys have to say. I've said it from the start. I want to build a community. I want to build a place where people can come, get questions answered, get some help or support if they need it. Whatever the case may be. I want this podcast to be a place for you guys. So yeah, reach out. Let me know what you need. Let me know what you want to do. If you have any questions, or if you want me to talk about something in particular, let's do it. Appreciate you guys listening. Sorry for being gone for so long. See you next time.